Have you ever felt like you're carrying an invisible backpack everywhere you go? Not a physical one, but an emotional and mental weight, stuffed with worries about what others think, anger from past experiences, unrealistic goals, and constant comparisons to people you barely know. Most of us drag this heavy load without realizing that it's the very thing holding us back from living freely. The Stoics, ancient philosophers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, believed that a good life isn't about adding more, but about removing the unnecessary. They taught that happiness is found not by acquiring endless possessions or chasing social approval, but by eliminating the habits, beliefs, and attachments that quietly drain our peace of mind. Today, I want to take you through 11 toxic things the Stoics would advise us to eliminate if we want to live with more clarity, freedom, and resilience. In this first part, we'll cover 6 of them. But I won't just repeat ancient wisdom word for word. Instead, I'll expand each lesson with modern psychology, real-world examples, and actionable steps so that by the end, you'll have a practical toolkit you can start using today. So let's begin. Lesson 1. Eliminate the need for validation. One of the greatest prisons people build for themselves is the constant craving for validation. We post a picture online and then obsessively check who liked it. We share an opinion and anxiously wait for people to approve. We even hesitate to make big life decisions because we fear judgment. The Stoics would call this a form of slavery. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." In other words, growth requires the courage to be misunderstood. Modern expansion psychologists have studied this too. Self-determination theory explains that humans have 3 basic needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness. When we over-rely on validation, we sabotage autonomy. We hand over control of our self-worth to other people's opinions. That makes us fragile because opinions shift like the wind. Think about how unstable it feels when your mood rises and falls depending on whether others approve of you. It's like building your house on quicksand. Practical steps. Detach from applause. Practice doing small things without telling anyone. Go for a workout without posting it. Learn a skill privately. This strengthens your ability to act without external reward. Journal your wins. Instead of waiting for someone to clap, record your progress. Seeing your own growth documented will build inner validation. Reframe criticism. Rather than asking, "Do they like me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" True freedom is when you no longer need people's applause to move forward. Lesson 2. Eliminate oversharing. In our hyper-connected world, oversharing has become normal. We spill every detail of our lives online: what we eat, where we go, who we date, even our struggles. But the Stoics would caution us here. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." When we overshare, we hand people tools they can later use against us. Modern expansion. There's also a psychological dimension. Oversharing often comes from insecurity. We want to prove our worth, or we crave connection so desperately that we expose ourselves too much. Ironically, it often backfires, making us more vulnerable to gossip, judgment, or even exploitation. Social media has blurred the line between authenticity and exhibitionism. Sharing isn't bad, but doing it compulsively is a sign we're seeking external validation rather than genuine connection. Practical steps. Pause before posting. Ask, "Am I sharing this to add value or just to get attention?" Value privacy as power. Mystery creates respect. The less predictable and exposed you are, the more control you retain over your life. Invest in selective intimacy. Share deeply with people who've earned your trust, not with everyone who happens to scroll past your feed. Your life is not content for public consumption. Protect it. Lesson 3. Eliminate hollow goals. We live in an achievement-obsessed culture. People chase status, titles, and money without stopping to ask why. But Seneca warned that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Wasting life doesn't always look like idleness. It often looks like climbing the wrong ladder. Modern expansion psychologists call this the arrival fallacy, the illusion that happiness lies just beyond the next achievement. Once I get that job, I'll feel fulfilled. Once I hit that number in my bank account, I'll relax. But when you finally arrive, the satisfaction fades quickly, and you set a new, higher target. The Stoics understood that goals must align with virtue and meaning, not just ego or competition. Otherwise, they trap you in endless dissatisfaction. Practical steps. Audit your goals. Write down your top 3 life goals, then ask, would I still want this if nobody could see it? If the answer is no, it's a hollow goal. Prioritize process over outcome. Instead of obsessing about results, focus on the habits and character you build along the way. Anchor goals to values. For example, instead of chasing money for prestige, pursue financial stability because it supports freedom and family. A meaningful goal fuels you. A hollow goal drains you. Lesson 4. Eliminate anger as a default response. Anger is natural, but the Stoics believed it was poison when uncontrolled. Seneca even wrote an entire essay titled On Anger, where he argued that anger is temporary madness. We often think anger makes us powerful, but in reality, it makes us puppets. When you lash out, anyone who provokes you suddenly controls your emotions. That's weakness disguised as strength. Modern expansion neuroscience backs this up. Anger triggers the amygdala, the brain's threat detector, which floods us with stress hormones. Chronic anger literally damages the heart, weakens the immune system, and shortens lifespan. But here's the nuance. Stoicism doesn't say never feel anger. Instead, it says don't let anger rule you. You can notice it, acknowledge it, and then choose a rational response. Practical steps. Delay your reaction. Count to 10 before responding in anger. That small gap interrupts the emotional surge. Reframe provocations. Instead of, this person insulted me, think they revealed something about their character, not mine. Channel energy productively. Use the adrenaline to fuel action. Exercise, create, or solve problems instead of lashing out. Power isn't in unleashing your anger, it's in mastering it. Lesson 5. Eliminate comparison. Comparison is one of the oldest thieves of joy. The Stoics saw it clearly. Focusing on what others have blinds you to what's within your control. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Modern expansion. In today's world, comparison is supercharged by social media. You don't just compare yourself to your neighbors, you compare yourself to influencers with perfect lighting, professional editing, and curated lifestyles. It's an unfair game, and you always lose. Psychologists call this social comparison theory. Upward comparisons to those seemingly above us often lead to envy, while downward comparisons to those below us can create arrogance. Both are toxic. Practical steps. Gratitude journaling. Write down 3 things you appreciate about your own life daily. It trains your brain to notice abundance instead of lack. Shift the frame. Instead of asking, why don't I have what they have? Ask, what can I learn from their path? Limit exposure. Curate your social media feed. Unfollow accounts that trigger envy and follow ones that inspire growth. When you eliminate comparison, you free yourself to run your own race. Lesson 6. Eliminate blind consumption of media. The Stoics lived in a world without smartphones, but their warnings still apply. They emphasized guarding your mind as carefully as your body. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself not to waste time on trivialities. Modern expansion today, blind consumption of media is one of the greatest drains on mental energy. We scroll endlessly, consuming content we don't even care about, leaving us anxious, distracted, and empty. Dopamine research explains this. Each new piece of content gives a tiny reward, training us like lab rats pressing a lever for another pellet. Over time, it erodes focus and makes deep work impossible. Practical steps. Digital fasting. Schedule time each day where you intentionally disconnect from screens. Conscious consumption. Before watching or reading, ask, will this nourish me or deplete me? Create before you consume. Start your day by producing something, writing, planning, exercising before opening your phone. Guarding your attention is one of the most powerful forms of self-defense in the modern age. Lesson 7. Eliminate perfectionism. Perfectionism may look like a virtue on the surface. Who wouldn't want to do things well? But the Stoics would remind us that perfectionism is really disguised fear. Fear of being judged, fear of failing, fear of being exposed as not enough. Epictetus taught that what matters is not flawless performance, but alignment with reason and virtue. To obsess about perfect outcomes is to demand control over what is never fully yours. Modern expansion psychologists differentiate between healthy striving and perfectionism. Healthy striving motivates you to grow. Perfectionism paralyzes you. Studies even show perfectionism is linked to higher anxiety, depression, and procrastination. Why? Because if you demand flawless results, you'd rather not start at all than risk falling short. Think of a writer who never publishes because their draft isn't perfect, or an employee who delays projects endlessly because they're terrified of making a mistake. Perfectionism doesn't improve outcomes, it kills progress. Practical steps redefine success. Instead of asking, was it perfect? Ask, did I give my best with the resources I had? Set deadlines, time box tasks. Give yourself 2 hours to write, then stop. It forces completion over endless polishing. Celebrate imperfection. Intentionally share something unfinished, a sketch, an idea, a rough draft, to practice detaching from flawless presentation. Progress beats perfection every single time. Lesson 8. Eliminate the fear of disapproval. Humans are social creatures, wired to seek belonging. But when the fear of disapproval governs us, we become prisoners to other people's expectations. Marcus Aurelius asked how much time he gains who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only at what he does himself to make it just and holy. Modern expansion. The fear of disapproval often stems from childhood when our sense of safety depended on others' approval, parents, teachers, peers. But as adults, this fear can sabotage us. We decline opportunities, silence our authentic voice, and settle for mediocrity because we don't want to upset anyone. Psychology calls this people-pleasing. It's exhausting. You stretch yourself thin trying to satisfy everyone, but end up resentful and unfulfilled. Worse, you still can't control what others think of you. Practical steps. Audit your motives. Before making a decision, ask, am I doing this because it's right for me or just to avoid disapproval? Build tolerance for disapproval. Start small. Say no to a minor request. Let someone disagree with you without rushing to explain. With practice, you'll realize rejection doesn't kill you. Anchor to values. When your actions align with your core principles, disapproval loses its sting. You stand on solid ground regardless of outside noise. Freedom begins where the fear of disapproval ends. Lesson 9. Eliminate unrealistic expectations. Expectation is a double-edged sword. On one hand, standards help us aim higher. On the other, unrealistic expectations set us up for constant disappointment. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." Much of our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from expecting life to unfold differently. Modern expansion. Take relationships. People expect partners to complete them, fulfill every need, never disappoint, and always understand without words. These expectations guarantee frustration. Take careers. People expect a dream job to be fulfilling every day, but every job has boring tasks, setbacks, and stress. Expecting otherwise leads to burnout. Modern psychology calls this the expectation gap, the painful distance between reality and what we thought it should be. The wider the gap, the greater the misery. Practical steps. Shift to preferences. Instead of rigid expectations, hold flexible preferences. I'd like this to happen, but if it doesn't, I'll adapt. Practice negative visualization, a Stoic exercise where you imagine loss or hardship in advance. Far from pessimistic, it prepares you emotionally and helps you appreciate what you already have. Detach from entitlement. Replace "I deserve this" with "I'll work for it and accept the outcome." Life rarely matches our script. Peace comes from dancing with reality, not demanding it follow our choreography. Lesson 10. Eliminate the fear of change. Change is the only constant, yet it terrifies us. We cling to routines, relationships, and identities long past their expiration date because change feels like death. But Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to consider that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change. Modern expansion. Why do we resist change? Neuroscience offers a clue. The brain's primary job is survival, and it equates predictability with safety. Even when current conditions are unsatisfying, they're familiar, and familiarity feels safer than uncertainty. But clinging too tightly blocks growth. Think of people stuck in jobs they hate, relationships that suffocate them, or habits that no longer serve them. Their fear of change keeps them in invisible chains. Practical steps. Reframe change as progress. Instead of "I'm losing stability," think "I'm gaining evolution." Start with micro changes. Rearrange your workspace. Take a new route to work. Train your brain to see change as opportunity, not threat. Anchor in permanence of values. While circumstances shift, your core values can remain steady. They are the compass through any storm. The Stoics didn't just accept change, they saw it as the very engine of life. To resist it is to resist reality itself. Lesson 11. Eliminate gossip and idle talk. Finally, one of the most underrated Stoic eliminations: gossip. Epictetus warned that wasting time on idle talk corrupts character. Marcus Aurelius advised himself daily not to be distracted by trivial chatter. Why? Because gossip focuses your energy outward on things irrelevant and uncontrollable while eroding integrity. Modern expansion. Modern studies show gossip isn't harmless. It increases anxiety, spreads negativity, and can damage reputations irreversibly. Worse, when you participate in gossip, you train others to see you as untrustworthy. If you gossip about others, people assume you'll gossip about them too. There's also a personal cost. Gossip distracts from your own growth. Instead of improving yourself, you waste energy dissecting others' flaws. Practical steps. Redirect conversations. When gossip arises, steer it toward neutral or constructive topics. Guard your speech. Before speaking, ask, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If not, stay silent. Feed your mind better input. Replace gossip with meaningful books, podcasts, or conversations that enrich your thinking. The energy you save from avoiding gossip can fuel real growth. Across these 11 lessons, a pattern emerges. Happiness isn't built by piling on more, it's uncovered by subtracting. Subtract validation and you gain inner freedom. Subtract oversharing and you gain privacy and power. Subtract hollow goals and you gain meaning. Subtract anger and you gain control. Subtract comparison and you gain peace. Subtract blind consumption and you gain focus. Subtract perfectionism and you gain progress. Subtract fear of disapproval and you gain authenticity. Subtract unrealistic expectations and you gain resilience. Subtract fear of change and you gain growth. Subtract gossip and you gain integrity. The Stoics knew what modern self-help often forgets. You don't need to add endless hacks, routines, and possessions to live well. You need to remove what weighs you down. Imagine carrying that invisible backpack again, but this time, each toxic weight has been removed. Suddenly, life feels lighter. You can walk further. You can breathe easier. That is the gift of Stoic elimination. So the next time you feel stuck, overwhelmed, or restless, don't ask, what do I need to add? Ask instead, what do I need to eliminate? That single question may be the most powerful Stoic tool of all.